Hello, and today's learning target is I can use the Pythagorean theorem to find missing lengths and solve word problems. Let's take a look at what the Pythagorean theorem is. So as you may recall in prior math classes, the Pythagorean theorem states that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now a is a leg, and b is considered a leg, and c is considered the hypotenuse. So those variables always represent a leg, and the hypotenuse. And c is always known as the hypotenuse, and the hypotenuse is known to be the longest side of a right triangle, and otherwise known as the diagonal. Let's make sure we can write that a little bit better. And then A is a leg, and here it's typically the shortest leg, and B is also considered a leg, and it's the longer leg of a right triangle. So let's now take a look at a few examples using the Pythagorean theorem. So let's take a look at this first example. Use the Pythagorean theorem to find the missing side length. So here we have two sides, 6 and 8, and we need to find the hypotenuse, which is C. So here I'm going to say 6 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. And so 6 squared is 36, 8 squared is 64, and so that equals c squared. And so 100 equals c squared. And now I have to undo something being squared. So I take the square root of, well, I want to undo the c being squared, and to undo this something being squared, you take the square root. So the square root of 100 is 10. So c equals 10. And we could plug this back into our calculator and make sure that 6 squared, so 36, plus 8 squared is 64, equals 100, and the square root of 100 is 10. So we know we have that right. Let's look at the next example. A right triangle has two side lengths of 10 and 12. Find the length of the hypotenuse. So if I wanted to draw myself a picture, I could. So a right triangle, and has two side lengths of 10 and 12, and I want to figure out the hypotenuse. So again, this setup will be a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And so here I have 10 squared, which is 100, 12 squared, which is 144, and 100 plus 144 is 244. And so, and I should probably not write 244 on that side. I should just write c squared. And so 244 equals c squared. And to undo something being squared, I take the square root. And so square root of 244 does not come out to be, or it's not a perfect square, so it doesn't come out to be an integer value. So I'm just going to round to the nearest tenth. So I will say 15.6. And make sure on your calculator you know how to use the square root button, because that will be very important in these Pythagorean theorem lessons. Let's continue going through a few more examples. Use the Pythagorean theorem to find the missing side length. So again, we just need to remember a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And so now for this example, we are given a leg and the hypotenuse, but not the other leg. So I'm still going to plug in the values to a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and I will say a squared plus 12 squared equals 16 squared. And now I know that 16 is the longest, or 16 is c, because it's the longest side here. It's also the diagonal, and it's also across from the 90-degree angle, which I did not mention earlier, but that's another important piece of the hypotenuse. It's always across from the 90-degree angle or right angle. So if we look at solving this problem, I have a squared plus 144 equals 16 squared, which is 256. And now I want to isolate a squared, so I'm going to take 256 and subtract 144. And so I get a squared equals 256 minus 144 is 112, and I also know that that's not a perfect square, so I'm going to take the square root and then round to the nearest tenth again. So I get a equals 10.6 if I round, because the 8 makes the 5 round up. And again, make sure that you know how to take the square root of a number in your calculator. Okay, let's look at the next example. This does not have a picture, so it might be helpful to draw ourselves a right triangle eventually, but let's take a look at what the problem is asking. The hypotenuse of a triangle is 18 and one leg is 4. So I'm going to draw this. Hypotenuse is 18 and one leg is 4. Find the missing side length. So I could call this A, I could call this B. I'll just call it A squared. So now if I set this up using the Pythagorean Theorem, I have A squared plus 4 squared equals 18 squared. And so I have A squared plus 16 equals, and then 18 squared is 324. I'll subtract 16 from both sides, and I get A squared equals 308. And then I'll take the square root of both sides to undo something being squared. And the square root of 308 rounded to the nearest tenth will be 17.5. So that would be the missing side length here for this example. Now let's take a look at a few word problems. Larry is buying an entertainment stand for his television. So this should say an. The diagonal of his television is 27 inches. I'm going to underline that because that might be pretty important. The space for the television measures 20 inches by 26 inches. Then there's a repeat sentence there, so I'm just going to cross that out. It's the exact same sentence, so I'll just cross that out. Will Larry's television fit? So let's draw a picture. So I'm going to draw the television, and it measures 20, right here. It measures 20 by 26. And then there's an entertainment stand that goes around it, like this. But the diagonal here is 27. Okay? So what we need to do is we need to make sure that the television will fit. And my drawing now has it fit in here, but we don't know exactly if it will fit. We have to test that out. So we actually have to find the diagonal here of this triangle. So if we know here that this is a right triangle of the television, right? Here's could be some antennas on a television, or that's maybe too old. We don't know about that. But anyway, so for a right triangle, the side length would be 20, and the other side length here would be 26. So here's my triangle I'm looking at in yellow, like this. I need to figure out the diagonal, and if it's less than 27, then it will work. So A squared is 20 squared plus 26 squared equals C squared. And 20 squared is 400, and 26 squared is 676, and that equals C squared. And 400 plus 676 is 1076 equals C squared. Then to undo something being squared, we take the square root. And the square root of 1076 is 32.8. So this TV here will not fit. So this actually, it's because this diagonal is 32 and this is 27, so the TV will not be able to fit into this entertainment center. So my drawing here, I could cross that out, right? Or I could actually erase it because it won't work out because the diagonal of the TV won't fit into the diagonal of the entertainment stand. Therefore, you'd probably break the TV if you tried to fit that in there. So no, it will not fit because 32.8 is greater than 27. Gotta get a new TV, Larry, or a new entertainment stand. Now let's take a look at our next example. Danny is trying to reach a window that is 28 feet high. He plans to put the ladder 10 feet from the base of the house. How big of a ladder does he need? So it's always good to draw a picture with these word problems because you never know quite what each number goes with each side length unless you draw a picture. So we know we need a house drawn. So here's going to be the house. Got a little door there, got some windows. There's the house. And so we know they're going to have he plans to put a ladder 10 feet from the base of the house. So this is 10 feet. Okay. How big of a ladder does he, oh wait, the house, he wants to reach a window. It's 28 feet high. So this will be the window he's trying to reach, and that's 28 feet high. I missed that. I should probably draw this a little bit better to scale. So this is 10. It's probably not going to be quite as long if the other side's 28. So that's 10. And so here's the ladder, right? I can even write ladder. So, and this is a right triangle. And so how big of a ladder does he need? So that's C, the diagonal. So I could set this problem up now and say 10 squared plus 28 squared equals C squared. And 10 squared is 100. And 28 squared is 784. And 100 plus 784 is 884. Then to undo something being squared, we take the square root of 884, and we get 29.7. So he's going to need a ladder that's 29.7 feet tall, at least 29.7, we should say, because he wants to make sure he can reach that window, so 29.7 feet. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Bye-bye.